I'm here on beautiful Bell Island, and I'm about to have a look at the number 4 mine, which is farther west. It's west of the number 3 mine, west of the number 6 mine, and this one closed, to my knowledge, approximately 1960. And it's besides number 2 mine and museum, which is the farthest east, this is the only one that has the original collar still intact. The collar was the entranceway where the men would make their way down into the mines. And originally there would have been 2 sets of railroad tracks, one going down into the mine and one coming back up, with an endless loop of cable, and the ore cars that got the iron ore from inside down in the depths of the submarine mine, they would load the cars and they would be hauled up by means of, first of all, a steam engine, and then later on, in later years, with diesel generators, major horsepower. I don't even know how many horsepower, but it was a lot to pull a weight up out of the mines. And the hoist house would have been up the hill. It's demolished now. The foundation is still there. And now there's these beautiful flowers, lupin flowers, and the occasional wild roses. There's lots of wild roses all over the island, but they grow around here too. And the area is being well kept. And you can see that there's a sign there saying Theater of the Mine. Now, a number of years back, somebody decided it would be a great idea to use the entrance of the mine to put on plays. So they put on skits with talented local high school students. Well, maybe not all high school, but anyway, the students, they get paid a stipend, and they put on these little plays on the weekends in the summertime, which is a fabulous way to remember and recognize the memory of the men, only men, because women weren't allowed in the mine, superstitions being what they were. And this collar was constructed in 1916. You can see it's crumbling now. There's lots of bits that have fallen away, but the original rebar is still there. It's still, I think it's still pretty sturdy. When I say I think, I mean, that's my opinion. I'm certainly not a construction engineer, but it's solid. And I really hope that they maintain the integrity of this collar and don't decide to do major upgrades and re-concrete or do whatever they need to do to reinforce it, because it is perfect just the way it is. I realized that they had to put up the red door and so on and so forth, but even that is, well, it's a difference. Painting the wall, I guess they had to. There was some graffiti on it. But anyway, so that's the entrance to the mine. The men would go down. I'm not sure if it was ore cars or if they had special cars that they sat in to go down in the mine. And you can see this concrete reinforced tubing, also called the collar, or the entrance to the mine. You would think that it stops just a little ways down slope here. Just kind of get up on top. And so here's the entrance to the mine. And I turn around and I look out here. You can see that there's a gentle 10 to 12 degree slope going down into the mine, which continues on into the ground and goes out in a straight line, relatively straight line, farther out. And I won't ask you to guess, I'll just tell you. This submarine mine goes down into the ground to a depth of 1,600 feet underneath the ocean. So there's the ocean floor, and 1,600 feet below that, and up to approximately 2.5 to even maybe close to 3 miles out underneath Conception Bay is where they did the submarine mining. They did room and pillar mining. Room and pillar mining was a process whereby they would dynamite the iron ore face and dig out rooms to either side of the main slope going down. And what they would do is they would take out about 60% of the iron ore, and they would leave 40% behind in the form of columns or pillars to support the weight of the ground above. Once they reached the ocean depths, they left 60% and they only took out 40%. The pressure of the ocean and the earth and everything else, and probably a few codfish bearing down on them, made it necessary to leave that extra support engineering wise, so that the entire structure didn't collapse. It was a honeycomb maze under there, and the number 2, 3, and 6 mine, which were farther east, all joined up at some point with the number 4 mine through various means. In other words, it was like a giant underground anthill, except it was inhabited by a lot of very brave men with strong backs who were doing this kind of work for many hours a day for very little pay to support themselves and their families, many families of which were quite large. And they were poor, but for the most part, and I lived here myself in the 1950s. My dad was electrical supervisor for the above ground electrical operations for Dosco Mining Company. And, you know, we had such a fabulous time with local people and love of our neighbors and everyone around us. Everyone's helped everybody. It was, you know, strong family ties. I'm not saying that there weren't issues from time to time, but for the most part, this was a happy place until the end eventually came in 1966, June 30th, when the entire mine system on Bell Island came to an end, unfortunately. Number 3 mine was the last one to close in 1966. So there you have a brief history of at least this particular mine, number 4, which features prominently in the book that I wrote, the novel called The Secret of Bell Island by myself, Mike Phelan, published in late October 2021. There's a side entrance over here. Another entrance or exit, I guess, from the mine. This is all tailings or leavings, overburden left over from the iron ore. It looks like iron ore, but it's not. It's just rock, with an occasional small chunk of iron ore probably left, but for the most part, picked clean. Here's the side entrance with a shiny new red door now for security purposes, I guess. 250 feet inside the collar of the mine is a wall that has a door in it that, if one were fortunate enough to be able to go beyond, would take you into a relatively untouched mine from 1960 going back to when they started. This one here started in, the collar was put up and they started digging in 1916. Who knows what kind of a treasure trove of old mining equipment and the history would be inside this mine. I'd give it quite a bit to be able to have a look inside there. Maybe one day. I tried this time, but no success. Anyway, over here is the foundation to what was called the dry house that was adjacent to the mine. And you can see it would have had various rooms to hold things like miners' work clothes, place to change, get ready for work. There would have been a room that held hard hats, miners' lamps, and the 10-pound batteries that they used to have to wear to power their relatively low output lamps. Many miners actually, from the day when they changed over from carbide lamps, which actually produced a gas by mixing carbide and water to produce a gas that they could light and have an open flame on their hat A lot of the miners thought it was a brighter light than the electric light, the battery lamp. Anyhow, this is the foundation, and not much left now except a bunch of old bricks. And these bricks, to my knowledge, I'm not an expert, but to my knowledge, I believe that this dry house was constructed using bricks and concrete, mortar, and they're actually the remnants of those bricks that are here all around me. I've come to understand from my inquiries that the bricks were made here in Newfoundland by the Pelly Manufacturing Company. There's various spellings, and even various spellings depending on which brick you pick up and look at the what's called the frog, which is the indentation in the brick denoting the name of the company that manufactured it. I've seen P-E-L-L-Y, although the name apparently is really spelled P-E-L-L-E-Y. Anyhow, you can see that these bricks are all here, many of them. Probably still 100 or so laying around. There's one there. See if we can come in and have a look at that. Pick this up. See if we can have a look. P-E-L-L-Y, and then what looks like a period at the end of it. That was probably from the form that they used to push the indentation. Indentation? No, actually this is a raised. It's a raised name saying P-E-L-L-Y, Pelly. Yeah, so pretty fabulous stuff. It might not mean too much to some people, but to me, the history, probably especially because I have a family connection, and all our neighbors and so on and so forth, pretty much everybody on the island, of which in the late 1950s had up to 12,000, maybe a little over 12,000 people, and down, I understand, to about a tenth of that now, maybe a couple of thousand on a good day. So anyway, that's my little spiel about the number 4 mine, and I still got a couple more days on the island before I head over to St. John's for a couple of weeks. But man, has it been fabulous so far. Anyway, number 4 mine here, signing off.